This is the morning shift.
Sussed.
Sorted.
Shifting.
With sorted.org.nz, giving you the free tools and guides to all things money. Here we are, and we're here for our final Sussed, Sorted, Shifting podcast, and what a journey it has been. We've learned a huge amount about money. We've covered off many topics, and we're all we're trying to help get your money sorted. Thanks to the team at sorted.org.nz, and without further ado, let's kick off our last podcast. It's called Kick Off Your Financial Goals for 2025 with a good friend of the show, Mr. Tom Harmon. G'day, Tom.
Good to have you back.
Welcome back, bro.
Hey, great to be back with you guys. This is awesome to see you.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. How is Shift Nation going?
Shift Nation's going good. We're gearing down, but it kind of feels like we're so busy at the moment, we're gearing up. But it's been a long year. I'm very proud of the things that we've been able to speak about with Sorted. And I think today kind of go through an overview of what we've gone through this year, a few things, but I'm excited just to talk about financial goals for 2025 and also a couple of questions of my own. Should I start with my own ones?
Go for it. If I just ask Thomas, do you always wear a sorted shirt? Do you want to open it up a little? Look at that.
I feel like on the
t-shirts.
weekend, Tom might be wearing a sorted t-shirt.
Yeah.
Orange to suit your eyes.
Let's get into something very quickly, and this is personal, Brooke, Matua, Mark, but I mean, crypto, the chat around crypto at the moment is insane.
It's huge, yeah.
Now, none of us are financial advisors. You need to make your own decisions. None of us are going to tell you to do anything today. So just to make everyone safe with this chat. But my algorithm is there's a lot of discussions around crypto, and it is a financial question. Just from where you're seeing the market or what you're hearing, what are your thoughts on crypto at the moment?
Yeah, so here's the thing. At Sorted, what we're aiming to help people do is grow their money over the long term.
Absolutely.
Okay, so when we talk about investments, we go to those traditional ones that actually spin off an income, like shares. Shares are a piece of a company. A company makes profits, and they either pay to you in dividends or they reinvest it in the company and they grow.
Yes.
So Bitcoin and crypto is doing a lot of ups and downs, a lot of ups lately, but it's not really based on, it doesn't make any money in itself. It's either worth more or worth less. So essentially what you're doing when you're buying cryptocurrency is you're betting that there's going to be somebody else down the line who's going to pay more for it.
Absolutely.
Right? You're making a bet.
Yes.
On whether, so it's a lot more like speculation. It's a lot more like gambling and a lot less like investing. It's really important to understand the difference between investing and speculation.
Well, that's why I'm asking, and you need to be able to let us know that, because in these times when people are desperate, and that narrative around if you buy in now, well, it's 10 cents, and now it's $10. Even if that is happening, I guess it's still good to be aware that there's other financial options, and it kind of is like gambling. I mean,
but just to give a balanced view, like the fund managers of legit managed funds, including KiwiSaver, are looking at cryptocurrency a little bit in a different way and are finding safe ways to go about it. At the beginning, it's very much, and even today, depending on how you buy it, how you store it, it was a little bit the Wild West, right? It was like the exchanges could get robbed, So values are all over the place. And the short answer is we don't know where it's going to go. Lots of people, project all sorts of high values and all that, but they really don't know. And it's okay to say we don't know.
absolutely.
Can I just kind of stay here for a quick second? Because this fascinates me so much. I see people's contracts changing in the landscape in terms of people say, hey, well, I want to get paid X amount, but then also X amount in Bitcoin or whatever. Just maybe personally, what would you say to someone who's thinking to take that direction of trying to change how they would like their contracts to be signed off?
Well, it's a legitimate store of value, but it all depends on
the same.
Well, yeah, you basically are taking a gamble that someone else in the future will pay more for that cryptocurrency.
And generally, what Brooke's talking about is Odell Beckham, an NFL player, NBA player, who has a lot of money to gamble.
Yeah.
So part of the question is, where does that cryptocurrency end up? But the other question, which is more interesting if you want to grow your money over time, is where is there going to be someone else who's going to pay more for that over time? Maybe yes, maybe no. We don't know. We don't know because the underlying value is not really based on a business. It's not based on a loan like a bond is. It's not based. It's a little bit more like gold in some senses, that you make a bet that there's somebody else who's going to value gold more in the future than what you're paying for it now, and that you'll make money on it. But we don't know.
And this ties in perfectly with when we were talking about investing in our first podcast, and you telling us, look, having a very varied like portfolio, making sure that you're investing in different things. And if you did want to have a little dabble off to the side with something like crypto or a bet, as you put it, like you could be playing around with that if, in fact, you were having other things on your portfolio.
Yeah, you don't want it to really be your core of your investing. And we spoke a lot about KiwiSaver. We spoke a lot about, most people have most of their long-term, for when they're going to step back from working, or if they're saving up for a first home or something like that. That's the majority of it. And then you might have some satellite investments. Maybe you're playing with shares on the different platforms that there are, like Sharesies or Stake or Hatch or something like that. And maybe you're playing around in cryptocurrency as well. But this isn't the core of growing money for the long term.
I just want to, sorry, Mark. I just want people to understand this, because I don't want to act like I understand just what you're saying. Because when you're on the internet, and this is what's happening with disinformation, or the tough thing that we're all dealing with at the moment is social media. It can be skewed as well. If you are trying to give money to shares, or like you're investing in the stock markets, or even though it's solid, what it kind of can be put to us as, well, why wouldn't you take a bet on crypto? That could take off too. But you're saying there is distinct differences, and we need to understand those and what those are.
Yeah, and the key difference there is the difference between investing and speculation. With investing, you're really trying to buy assets that, and again, the traditional ones are cash, bonds, shares, or commercial property.
So that's good to know.
Those are the key four that we, have people really understand on Sorted, because they spin off an income from them. So cash earns interest. Bonds, which is a type of loan, earns interest as well. Commercial property earns rents. And shares, of course, they are companies that earn profits.
So it's trying, and Mark put me on this book. For the life of me, what's the book you put me on, Mark?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And basically the number one concept, and basically everything you said there, was you got to make your money work for you. When you're sleeping, your money needs to be working for you. And that's the...
Yeah, that's really what investing is. If your money is stored in something like cryptocurrency, it's not working at all. It's just stored there, and you are taking a bet, right? Fingers crossed that somebody will come along down the road and pay more for that than you paid for it now.
Absolutely.
The good place to start, I reckon, is for us to go around the room, and with our sorted podcasts that we have, we've been able to work together with, maybe take a little memory from each of us as to what we've taken out of it before you can help us sort of, I guess, put some goals in place for 2025. How does that sound? And you can speak off the back of some of the things that we obviously bring up.
Yeah, they've been great. We've been able to hit a lot of topics, so that would be awesome.
Yeah, so for me, I'll start off with, I was blown away with the last podcast we just did around tackling debt, with the idea behind what happens when you fail to even realize that you're in debt on something. Like it might just be your water bill that you forget to pay. And the phone bill. I had no idea that was going against us down the track. Well, it could add up to going against us, and therefore having things stacked against us in a way that we actually, we didn't even know was happening. Yeah. And maybe it's just me that was ignorant to the fact that, you do have, people are keeping an eye on how much money you owe and whether or not you're paying it on time and stuff like that. But that was something that I learned from one of our Sorted and Shifting podcasts.
One thing I wanted to add to that is actually we have a positive credit reporting regime. So not only do you get dinged your score when something goes wrong, but you actually build your score when things go right. So every time you pay your bill on time. Yeah, this is really important to know because everybody thinks that you start with this high score and it gets hammered, which is true when things go wrong, when payments get missed. But every time you pay your power bill on time, if it's part of that positive credit regime, people call it, your score is actually building. Okay, so good things are happening too, just to balance it out.
What if you pay early?
No, probably not. Probably not. Yeah, I'm thinking.
I don't even know how much I owe in power, but I'm going to pay it. You know, those kinds of ones. No, you can't skip ahead.
I can go look that up. That's an interesting one. I don't think so. It'd be good.
My one was around budgeting, and I'm such a visual person. And the first time I ever kind of took a step back and go, okay, there's a little bit of frivolous spending here, and this isn't helping me long term. Was when I saw it visually, and then so you go onto the sort of website and you can just type everything down and go, well, hold
easy,
on,
right?
Oh, wait. There's $42 on coffee in the last 4 days.
Oh.
That's I didn't see that go. And then you put that next to the year and how much you spent on the year. And it just helped me cut back on so many things.
Out of sight, out of mind, though.
Out of sight, out of mind. That is it. And that's how I've always lived with money. So then I have it there and it's in front of me. Then the part that I struggled with was going, okay, well, I've only had 2 coffees this week, but I didn't save that extra money.
Yeah.
So
that's
now where's that going? You know, because I'm going, okay, I'm
sign,
saving money here, but I'm not seeing any extra money in my savings. It's actually, yes, very out of sight, out of mind. I just switched it to something else. It was putting that plan into fruition.
Yeah, that's really cool. So if I asked you what would you spend on a coffee, the last one you had, you'd remember. But if I asked you what you spend on coffee over the last week or the last 2 weeks,
wouldn't have a clue.
Our brains don't work that way. We don't aggregate too well. Like we need something to help us, and which is why we have that budget planner.
It was great.
Yeah, it really helps a lot. And then the word saving gets used in a couple different ways, right? So the way we use savings is you take money and you set it aside for the future. Okay, so that's one. But also we talk about saving money as in paying less for stuff or skipping stuff. But if that money is not set aside for the future, there's no saving, really.
You're in the same spot.
Yeah,
absolutely. That was my one.
I know that you did the KiwiSaver episode with us. Just because we have so much topics to kind of go through today, let's just kind of go, for me, what would be your one hack for people that have KiwiSaver that are listening that might have missed that episode, listening now? What's something you're like passionate about in terms of this is what you need to know about KiwiSaver?
Yeah, the main thing is everyone needs to make an active choice of which KiwiSaver fund to be in. And there's sort of a myth that they're all the same. And so we talked about the different types of KiwiSaver funds. You know, they're balanced, growth, aggressive, conservative, and even defensive. And everybody needs to figure out which type is right for them because it's not one size fits all. It depends how far away your goal is. Again, KiwiSaver is only good for 2 goals. It's good for saving for a first home and for when you want to step away from working eventually, right? So, depending on how soon you're going to use that money, you need to figure out what type of fund, and then you need to shop around in those funds, and they all cost differently. Like we pay fund managers to invest that money for us. Some are really expensive, some are not so much.
All right, Tom, I think for the final one of kind of reviewing what we've looked through, I think for all of us who are dads, and we've all got kids at different levels and ages, sorry, not levels, ages. So
some levels.
I think one of the most amazing things was learning just how important it is to have good money habits in front of the kids. And that's something we can all move and take forward into 2025, just how much they learn and how good it is to talk money with them at such young ages and throughout whatever it is you're going through in your personal day life, involving the kids with it. I think one of the things that we really liked was the idea behind getting a few different jars and having like an investment jar, a savings jar, something you can, and those kinds of things. And I guess
the 4-jar system.
The 4-jar system. Can you run us through the 4-jar system again?
I love
Just
that.
give us a bit of an insight.
It actually works well for adults too. But
I was just thinking-
the kids, the kids really do well with jam jars. I found, I have 3, and they've come through this sort of system. They got a lot out of it. So first one, spending. I mean, they're going to want to buy lollies. Depending on where they're at, they're going to want to buy Robux. They're going to, whatever.
V-Bucks.
They'll be saving up for things. That's the second one, the savings jar, right? So if they're looking for the next scooter, they're looking for the next skateboard or something like that, right? So it's sort of a medium-term one. A giving jar. I mean, it's just anytime you're giving money to to someone else, your siblings, your donations, your cohort, whatever, and that's that giving jar. And then this is my favorite in lots of people leave this one out, is that growing jar. And if the kids can understand that money is for growing, that growing jar is really either an entrepreneurial fund or an investment fund. That should never go down. So, for example, when my daughter was in high school, she would make corsages, right, for the prom.
Wow.
She would take money out of that to get the materials to make a corsage, and then sell the corsages, and then put that money back in there, and take the profits and put it in some of our other jars. But that one jar should never go down.
What was the going rate for a corsage out of
I don't know. It's probably like $20, $30, something
and
like that.
it would only cost what?
Yeah,
$10?
so for her, she'd probably make them for $7 or something.
Oh,
like
wow.
that, so.
The margin on that. I'm no mathematician, but
Yeah, she did.
don't make moves.
She did all right, but the point is, she also had that growing jar in order to get those raw materials, right? Because lots of times, if you want to start, you guys know, if you want to start a business, you need some upfront capital, right? So that growing jar actually is good for that. Anybody who wants to start a lemonade stand, that money you can use it for the sugar, for the lemons, for the paint to paint it. Yeah,
and you don't skip any of those stages, right? Like, so I think if I'm guilty of, for my daughter who always has business ideas, I'm like, okay, I'll put the money up front, but I never get her to pay me back. But how the importance of actually, it's poor fathering, really, if I'm being honest. Helicopter parent. But yeah, each one of those stages is so important, right, for our kids to be learning and listening, and for us as well as adults and parents, we can be learning as well.
Well, in those 4 jars, we all need to be good spenders. We all need to be good savers. We've got these medium-term goals. We all need to be good givers, and we all need to be good growers over time.
It's just even that as a conversation in parenting, we all know how our brain works, those neurological pathways that we need to, get those growths happening. I'm still learning about this, but if I can do that with my son, and that's already a conversation that he's having from a young age. Man, I think we've covered this a lot in our talks about, for some of our people, the emotional spend and thinking around finances. Even I was thinking when I was growing up, big thing for me, like, and for some of our people in our culture, I had to buy things to look a certain way.
Sure.
Right. But if I looked at that, like, I was thinking about my early 20s, man, I was spending like thousands on like clothes and shoes to
you
look
good
cool.
though.
But did I though? No, I don't think I look good. And then obviously trips would come up and I wouldn't have enough to go, so then I'd take a loan. For me, I'm in a position now, very lucky, like in my adult life, where I have no debt, and so now I'm going, okay, now people are telling me, well, you need good debt, and what does that look like, and investments and things like that. For me, sorry, personal question again, guys, sorry. For me, probably like looking into next year, and maybe anyone listening, if they're in that position, or just your thoughts on like a financial budget and where I can start to think, like, what would be some tips around having a financial plan for 2025?
Yeah, give us all goals for 2025.
Yeah, listen, I'm trying to make 2025 my year, Tom.
Yeah.
Well, let's set some together. I mean,
absolutely.
let's set some goals together. Like, some are financial goals and some are life goals that take money, right? There's a sort of different, like, if you want to go on a holiday next year, if you want Christmas to be better, or if you want, whatever's coming up in the next year, you're probably going to need money for it. So there's a financial part of it. So one of the things, like, some good examples financially, though, are setting aside an emergency fund. I mean, that's a really good one. And if somebody doesn't have one, you start with $1,000 and you're selling stuff around the house, whatever it takes to get to that $1,000 just to get started. Another one is to set yourself up to be debt-free. I mean, what a great feeling.
Yeah,
it is to be debt-free. Like, you're a nice one.
Yeah.
Because that brings, as you talked about last time, that brings a whole weight with it,
Absolutely.
a whole stress with it that people don't need. That's another great goal. If you're working towards something bigger, like a first home, then maybe it's a deposit. If you're working for your next device, your next car, whatever it is, we see a lot of wealth destroyed in the way we borrow for cars and that we pay for cars. So that can be a really good goal as well. We've got a bunch of them. So KiwiSaver, another big one for the long term, right?
I'm in KiwiSaver.
Are you using KiwiSaver? And you can actually go on Sorted to see the way you contribute now is leading towards a certain result, right? So you want to see, is that the result that I want? Is it going to help me hit my long-term goals? If not, then you can tweak, because you guys got lots of time.
Absolutely.
You guys got lots of time. You're not like, stepping away from work next week. You're having fun doing what you do, right? So like over the next decades, as you're doing this, you can make some tweaks now and really get very different.
When you say tweaks, there are a couple
Teeks
of
is
things.
good
Teeks is a great artist.
Great
The tweaks that you can do, there'd be a couple, right? There'd be how much you're actually putting into your KiwiSaver would be one tweak, and then also kind of what you're doing with your KiwiSaver. Is it one of the high gaining ones, or what do you call those categories, those subcategories?
Yeah, we just call them types of funds.
Types of funds.
Yeah, so they're those 5 types. So you want to make sure
You're in the right one.
Yeah, you want to make sure that you find the right one for you, and then you find a fund that's in that bucket. That makes sense. If you should be in a growth fund, if you're shopping around for a growth fund.
When you look around the room, what should we have?
Well, it really depends. It's actually easy to. It's not that hard to figure out, because at KiwiSaver, that money is locked in there for those 2 goals. So it really depends on how soon and how comfortable you are with the values going up and down. How soon you're going to use the money, and how comfortable you are with those changes. Because it's not a savings account that always goes up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's worth more, sometimes it's worth less, and so you got to be comfortable with that. So if you're saving for a first home and it's within the next, 3 to 7 years or something like that, you probably want to be, balanced to conservative to make sure that money's there and you're building it. If you're thinking about using it for when you want to stop working someday, and that's like 20 to 30 years away, then you probably, you have time to ride out ups and downs in the market, and you can be there in a growth or even an aggressive fund.
Oh, aggressive.
So yeah. It's
I'm
not about being
going aggressive, baby.
It's not an aggressive person. It's an aggressive fund in the way that which means it holds a lot of things like shares and commercial property.
See, I imagined it would be a guy who had a real short temper who was looking after the aggressive fund.
Like buy, sell, sell. Yeah, that's right. On Sorted, we've got a quick questionnaire, 3 questions for you. You can put in your preferences, and it'll basically let you know in that KiwiSaver Fund Finder of what type of fund is right for you. It's a great financial goal for the next year, actually, is to shop around for the right fund for you if you haven't found one already.
Before you give us any more goals for next year, can I just ask, what's the predictions for next year? What are the financial people in that sector saying is going to happen next year? Is it going to get easier to live? Interest price is going to come down for mortgage? What are the things that everyone's looking forward to in 2025?
This is the part where I say this is way above my pay grade.
Yeah.
And so we're not in the business at all of telling the future. And usually we tell people, if anyone really has a high degree of certainty about what's going to happen next year,
Walk away.
Yeah. Yeah. It's probably a scam, especially if they're promising high returns at low risk. And this is definitely going to happen because, it's healthy to say we just don't know.
You know what, Tom?
Maybe rates will come down, but maybe they won't. Maybe we just...
You're in the business of equipping people for whatever happens in 2025, how we face it and how we do it. So we've looked at starting an emergency fund as one of our goals. We've got check on your KiwiSaver and what contributions you're making, what type of, whether or not it's an aggressive fund or not. Trying to get debt free is a nice goal to set for ourselves. Working towards like one of those bigger purchases, maybe a car, maybe a house, getting yourself sorted for that. Anything else that we could put on our goals list when it comes to 2025 and what we should be aiming for?
Well, if you guys are carrying mortgages, the way you manage those mortgages, we talked about in the the episode we did about the levers that you have power over, and really you can also hack that or tweak that and to get radically different results. I mean, essentially on Sorted, what we believe, and I think it's really true, is that you can make tiny little changes that have these big differences of effect. That's what the numbers show us over time.
The long game, eh? Gotta play the long game.
Listen, I understand we're talking about 2025 and setting that right, but I mean, it's a silly season right now. It's Christmas time, and sometimes we just find ourselves in a bit of debt. And
I bought a balanced lemon bar the other day.
like
what am I doing?
You buy a couple more things. You shout dinner a couple more times. It's obvious.
This is the time, right?
You want to get the right gifts for the kids. You want to have fun. You're not at work, so you're spending more money because there's less time at work. So you got more time to spend some money.
Yep.
What's some? I think hacks is probably the good word.
Yeah.
About not getting into 2025 and be like, oh, that last 3 weeks really set me back.
So that's the first financial goal, is to get through this season with as little debt as possible.
So we need to say no presents for the kids.
We need to dial up the joy and dial down the debt. That's really what we're after.
That's a good bar.
That's really what we're after during this time. But in 2025, if you find yourself carrying more debt than what you need to tackle that. You need to get that off because of the way interest works against you, the way that fees works against you. You end up paying way more. The people who are getting to this Christmas are still paying off last ones, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend and about Christmas, and it was a great conversation we had. And there's this feeling, and what is hard sometimes about having a hard year and the economy really affecting our emotions too. Because if people have to work 2 jobs and you get to the end of the year, and then you end up feeling like you might already feel bad about how much time you get to spend with the kids or how much. So then you go to make big purchases, and it's not about buying love, but Christmas is about joy, and it's just like managing that. And we had a chat saying, I love the phrase you just said: dial up the joy, dial down the debt, because money, and it's not even always the best outcome, but money's only one way to dial up the joy. There is the time, there's the beach days, and yes, there's petrol and things, but it's not super expensive presents constantly,
and whatever we're spending, we want to make sure we get the most joy out of that spend too. So if you ever need to cut back, you want to cut back on the things that aren't really giving you that much happiness, either for yourself or for the
That's why it's important the whole family does love languages, guys, because if no one's got gifts, there should be none under the Christmas tree. Thanks. New shoes, cool, bro. Just wanted 2 hours of your time, undivided attention.
Yeah. Lots of times that's what the kids want. We're lucky we're going into this holiday season. Hopefully, people have more time, to just do really great things together. Absolutely.
So sometimes things that help me in this is hearing like the psyche behind it of why we spend. Do you have any tips or any ideas around the psyche of why we spend so much? And then I'd probably be like, okay, well, this is why I'm doing it. This is why I'm wired this way to do it. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, well, that was one of the best examples that you just gave just now. Really, if you're people feeling guilty about not having spent enough time with the kids, and then they try to make up for it with a present. What does that present really represent? Is it more about you, or is it more about the kids? I'm always. Have you ever seen the kids? Yeah. Sometimes the real little ones, like a 3-year-old, will get more value out of the box,
out of the avocado,
coat hanger,
than out of the toy itself. Right? They open the thing, and then they're having more fun with the box than the actual piece of plastic. And that's fascinating to me, because what do they really need to have fun? What do they value? What do they need to get joy out of it? Lots of times it's not the more you spend, the more joy you get. And very often it's not at all.
All right, Tom, let's bring this to a close. And this is, it's almost a little bit sad that this will be the last of our final sorted shifting podcast.
Man, it's been great.
This year, it's been a lot of fun. But I guess ultimately what we have learned is for all these financial goals to kind of kick off, especially for our 2025 ones, we're going to need a budget. And I know that we've talked often and a lot about the idea behind the budget tools that are on sorted.org.nz. So what are your, I guess, what's your advice? How do we get ourselves together and go, all right, shifters, as one, let's get in there, let's create a budget using these tools, and what type of help, I guess, financial help is out there for people who may not, the budget thing doesn't make sense online. So, how do we build a proper budget for 2025?
Okay, so the main thing that I want you to point you to is on Sorted, there is a goal planner, and that goal planner is perfect for what we're talking about here, and actually doing it for yourself or with your family. You can actually set family goals on this goal planner, and pretty much you can put in even things like experiences you want to work towards, financial goals, new gadgets, cars, all different things that you can put in there. And it really gets you to this point of this one statement, which is basically, we will have this amount of money for this thing by this date. It's very specific, which is what you want for every type of goal, every type of financial goal. You want it to be a SMART goal, but pretty much that formula there is the best one. In fact, if we were setting goals right now, if you're thinking of one yourself, it helps you visualize it. It said, I will have this amount of money for this thing by this date. And that's what that goal planner really helps you to do. So you can set goals together. But in order to get to those goals, then we need to put in a system in place in order to get to those goals. And very often we can automate that system. I always say the only reason why I'm anywhere, if I'm good at money at all, it's only because I can automate stuff, because I would never remember. I would never, I would never be thinking about saving all the time. No way. But behind in the system. So we don't really, the guy who wrote Atomic Habits said it best, James Cleary, we don't really rise to our goals. We fall to our systems. Okay, so we need a system in place in order to get those goals. So once you set a goal, then you said, okay, so how are we going to get there? How much do we need to set aside? How much do we, and that's where that budget tool really comes in. And you're like, okay, so if I want $1,000 for next Christmas, not this one, but the next one that comes around, how much do I need to set aside every week in order to get there? Most people, they need like an extra paycheck when the holidays run around.
Absolutely.
Roll around at least. So how do we plan in order to get there? And lots of times you can figure out what that amount is and then set up an automatic payment to do it to a separate account, and it's out of sight, out of mind, and it's just happening behind the scenes. Or if you're taking down a mortgage quicker, tweaking that amount, and it's automatically coming out of your account. If you're trying to ratchet up your KiwiSaver, same sort of thing. If you're trying to pay down your debt, same sort of thing. What is the goal? Put a system in place in order to achieve that goal, and guarantee that, next time around when we're talking, we're like, well, how far are you along? Yeah, we're getting there. We're on track. Yeah, definitely.
If you're listening to this, and it's been a thread throughout all of our sorted podcasts, and you can look at the world and we can look at what's not fair and what's very difficult. But the common thread through all of our podcasts has been, shifters, there's a decision that we have to make at some point. And the more I hear about financial choices, it's like we are looking for hacks, but there's also a simple answer of, with the last one with budgeting, if you are experiencing a lot of debt, paying, it's that call you don't want to make.
Yeah.
It's that private call that comes up and you're like, what does that even mean? But as soon as you start to engage in a process that can help your systems, your financial life starts to turn around. And I just think if you're listening to this right now, please let this be a defining moment once again, when you believe what Tom's saying, when you believe what these people are saying, and that people, A, want to help, 2, they have the tools to help you, and 3, there are people, that want to see you get out of where you're going. Because I don't have investments yet, but for me to get to a point in my life where I don't owe money, like, it has been extremely freeing for the way. And probably spent too freeing this year. Didn't save enough, but at least getting out of debt has been something that's just been so powerful for me. So I know that you want the magic answers, you want that aha soundbite, but it's also about engaging in our lives for ourselves and going and getting the help that we need.
Yeah, and just on that, I mean, definitely one of the greatest sessions that you guys did was with Ann Smart from Money Talks, right? This free helpline, we're so lucky to have it here in Aotearoa. We are very lucky, which is that 0800-345-123. I love the fact that you can text them on 4029 even anonymously too. Like, you can just be on the bus or something like that, just text them. And there's a whole great team of people. The reason why we were really keen to get her on and everybody know about that team is that they're great at really being in your corner and actually going to bat for you against lenders and debt collectors and all that, and
Who are
getting
trying to
those
take you
phone
for
calls
everything you
away.
got.
Yeah, and are really, well, they're basically just trying to get their money back with a heck of a lot of interest a lot of time, but that can be ruining for some people. That can be really trouble. That can be a lot of, and so to ease the anxiety about money, we've got, great help on Sorted. We've got the free helpline there at Money Talks. And again, I'm sort of one of the guys behind the scenes when questions come in.
Yeah.
If we don't have all the answers for you, we know where to get them very often. If people have questions, money-related questions about how this works or that works or what to do when, and very often we can help. So please drop us a line on Sorted if there's anything we can do for you. We will do it.
Love that.
You're a
You are the
legend.
man.
Love
Thank
you,
so
Sorted.
much, Tom. Thank you, and please give our love to the rest of the Sorted team. We've really enjoyed this. Tom Hartman, once again, absolutely cleaned it out. You're like the financial uncle that we can all rely on. You can give us that little bit of advice that we're like, nice. But thank you for your time, man. We always appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Always great to be here with you. You're doing such fantastic stuff, and I know you're so community-driven and really looking out for so many people, so thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
Man.
Sussed. Sorted.
With sorted.org.nz, giving you the free tools and guides to all things money.